to the Triple J podcast. This is Nick Jeldricks here. I'm the founder of Triple J. If you don't know me or what Triple J is, Triple J is a platform that pursues to educate digital marketers, entrepreneurs, executives, and other business professionals with the best content on the planet. And ultimately, this helps to expand, to grow your business and your brand. And whether it's for your business, for your own personal enjoyment, my goal is to provide you with industry first deliverables that analyze market trends and assist your strategies for building your marketing principles. Podcast is what we have. It's called Shows Within the Show. Today's show is our first ever Q&A, where, as you probably guessed, is where you provide the questions and I give the answers. Other times, I will do episodes surrounding my latest marketing case study, and those videos usually range from 45 to 60 minutes. We also have episodes where I scour the internet and dig up the latest and greatest marketing strategies and review why you should or should not implement these practices into your business. We also have what's called Real Talk, and Real Talk is very simple. It's typically 5 to 20-minute episode where I give you my advice on various topics, ranging from marketing to personal development to discipline to hot takes. It covers a lot of different subjects. And finally, we have the typical or normal guest format where I invite a guest to share their thoughts on the show. That is currently in the works, and I'm excited to share that project with you guys very, very soon. Before we begin, I want to share with you what we have that's called the fee. And it's very simple, and all it is this. If you learn something from the show, or if you take something away, if it makes you laugh, makes you think, the only thing that I really ask you is to share the show. Very simple, like I said. This way, it helps me to create more content that you enjoy, and it's just a kind gesture in a way of saying thank you. So please share the show if you find something valuable, and I'll also go ahead and encourage you to say that if you don't find something valuable, then you don't have to share it, okay? But I guarantee you that if you're listening through the whole episode, you'll definitely learn something. So make sure you share the show. All right, so let's get into my first ever Q&A. We have quite a bit of questions that we normally get through. If you're curious about how to send in your questions to me for future episodes, all you have to do is simply message me on LinkedIn, or you can email me my email at triplejstudios with 2 S's at gmail.com. Again, it's triplejstudios with 2 S's at gmail.com. Those are the ways that you can send me in different questions. And typically with these types of episodes, I'm going to cover and review 3 different questions that you guys have sent in, and I'm going to answer them as best as I can and share with you my insight and my takes on all of it. So without further ado, I'm going to read my first question here and put them on a Google Doc, and I'm going to read them off to you. But first, I'm going to need a sip of coffee, man. It's a great day. As I'm looking outside right now, there's a bunch of construction going on, and they're repaving our road. So if you do hear something faintly in the background, you know what it's from. They didn't send me, though. All right, question number 1. Let's get right into it. Hey, Nick, I just read your marketing case study on the Nike Pata running team collab, and I really enjoyed hearing your thoughts and insight from this collection. I understand and am glad you identified the sniper method relating to Nike's marketing strategy, but I'm curious, what are the downsides of the strategy, and would this work for an independent clothing company? Thanks for the help. This is a great question. So I want to kind of break this down into what this actually is. So if you don't know the sniper method for marketing, it's very simple. Anytime you see one influencer, okay, this is the whole point of this. So let's break this down. There's a difference between the sniper method and per se a spray method. A spray method, as I'm sure you can imagine, is you're aimlessly hoping at a bunch of different targets and hoping something sticks. Okay. It's kind of like you're shooting blindly in the dark and hoping that something connects to the target. Whereas the sniper method is very precise, it's accurate, and all it takes is one shot and it's going to hit. It's going to hit just like that. In Pata and Nike's collaboration here, their sniper method related to their influencer marketing. And so they could have had a bunch of different influencers relate to the product or the collection by either reviewing it and taking a look at it, letting people know when the drop is, when to buy, what's the best product. They could do all of that. Instead, what they did, though, was they only selected one of Nike's connections, which just so happened to be LeBron James. And since LeBron has one of the biggest and brightest platforms relating to Nike, it was the sniper method in that case. And he actually debuted it on a runway to the Lakers game. And it stunned everybody. Everybody was looking. Everybody was interested to see what the product was and basically how they could get their hands on it. Okay, including myself. I was 100% in this category. Okay. So for me, I want to show you my marketing case study that I did on this because I think it'll provide you of great value. So let me go ahead and share with you my marketing case study here. Okay. So you guys should be able to see this. But just right here, I mean, as you can see, LeBron James wearing the upcoming Pata, and Nike varsity jacket retailing for $600. Despite the high retail price, this thing still sold out within, I think it was like 2 minutes or something crazy. Spending $600 that quickly is never an easy thing unless it's rent per se. But anytime you have a piece like this, it's going to sell out. And this is a great example of the sniper method. I would say if you want to take a good look at a spray method and how that worked really well, the best that I can give you, at least as of now, just a recent example, is what Nike did with Travis Scott and the Jumpman Jack. So if you want to take a look at that, feel free to do so. It's on my website at triplejstudios.com. You can find it there, or there's a bunch of other platforms you can take a look at. But back to Pata and the Nike collection, this is a great example of how the sniper method really worked. And I don't think it should be that surprising to see that. So I guess now is a good question and a good time to ask, what are the downsides? Are there downsides to this type of marketing? I mean, clearly this worked here with LeBron, but are there times when it wouldn't work? And I'm going to burst your bubble here. I think the reason why most companies stray away from this strategy is because most of the times sniper method doesn't really work because companies either don't have the right influencer, they don't have the right product, they don't have the right environment. Essentially, there's a bunch of things that have to go right for the sniper method to really hit. And in Pata and Nike's case, they were fortunate enough to have this work straight on without a problem. Other companies might not have that type of luxury to go out and just recruit LeBron real quick and get him on a call and say, hey, I want you to wear this jacket before a Lakers game. Might not happen like that. Other downsides is you could be spending a lot of money in this case, and you might not even know if you're going to get it. And some companies might think this is gambling their marketing budget away if they only have one influencer. I don't think that's the right way to put it. I think companies should instead flip that mindset to say they're very confident, they're hyper confident in their influencer that they're choosing. If you have 100% trust and certainty that, let's say it's LeBron or whether it's another athlete, influencer, rapper, whoever, that they're going to sell the product, a jacket, with ease, then it should be no problem. The problem runs into when companies either aren't confident, they don't have the luxury of a whole bunch of athletes or influencers to choose from, and they just simply don't have the budget. Those are the big ones. And 95% of companies fit into that range. Fortunately for Nike and Pata, they're part of that 5%. So luckily, it works well for them. Now, pertaining to if this would relate to an independent clothing company, I think there's some resemblance of a business, perhaps. If you're asking this question, you have a business. This is a great question. Would this work for you? And the cool thing about marketing nowadays is you do not have to reinvent the wheel. Marketing in of itself, the whole marketing model isn't necessarily you about reinventing the wheel. A lot of times you can take what works well for one company and take it with you. You can take what works well for another company and put it into your strategy to where now you have an entirely new campaign that is not only effective in terms of reaching your target audience, but is also very inexpensive. And you're able to run that through. And AI has been helpful with that. So, as far as if it works for your clothing company, I would say it depends. I think if you're a smaller clothing company, like a startup, or per se between the 1 to 5 million range or anything less than that, I would say the spray method is probably going to be your best bet because that way you're actually able to connect with multiple channels, with multiple audiences, and actually figure out if it's the right thing for you. Whereas if you invest all of your money into the sniper method, yes, you might be confident. You're also running that risk of losing a lot of capital without a guaranteed sense of success. Companies like Nike, like Pata, or other retailers, they have the capability to go out and use the sniper method more often than not because they just have the budget that they can expend. If you're a smaller clothing company, you just don't have that. And that's okay, but that's just a realization that we all have to have. And so if you're really trying to figure out what's best for you, the smear method is the first way to do it. And this is how a lot of businesses get successful. I want to just share this with you really quick. Especially for e-commerce companies, this is the best way that they find success within all of their ad sets. A lot of times what e-commerce companies will do is they'll have one campaign, 10 ad sets, and like 2 to 3 different ads within each ad set in and of itself. And then they'll run those ads for anywhere between 24 hours, 72 hours, or even up to a week just to get the data that they need to assess the campaign. Once they have all the information in place, the next thing you do is just find the products and the campaign ads that actually work, run those through and scale them up. And that's how they find a lot of success. And so you can incorporate that into your own strategy. That's something I would recommend. But pertaining to the question that you're asking here, the best way to do it, start with the spray method, see what sticks. Do that for a little bit. And then once you either have the capital or you find something that's doing really well, that's booming, then do the sniper method. See what works for you. That would be the best way that I can answer that question. I'd be curious to hear your response on that. Email that to me or message me. But I think the spray method is a really good way to start that. And I think sometimes it gets a bad rap because you're kind of wondering, oh, is this even going to be successful in the first place? It technically is. And statistically, because more businesses start with that, they technically find more success out of it. Once you have the capital, though, I think you can go ahead and scale it. But I think that's a great point to start with. Coffee's hitting. Coffee's hitting today. All right. So that was the first question that we went over. Guys, like I said before, if you have questions, either message me or send them to me at triplejstudios@gmail.com. All right. Let's get into question number 2. Reads, hey, Nick, I'm curious. Why do you only cover Nike in your marketing case studies? It seems like you're pretty biased from what I can tell, and was wondering why don't you cover any other brands like Adidas, Reebok, Fear of God, or any others, etc. Thanks for sharing, and big fan of the show. All right, this is an interesting question. So, why do I cover mainly Nike on my marketing case studies? Is there bias within that? Yes and no. I mean, I grew up a Nike kid my entire life. I followed the brand the longest, and I also know a lot about the brand, its history, its people, its athletes. I'm just more associated and familiar with that brand compared to others. And it's not that I don't dislike the others at all. In fact, I enjoy all the different campaigns to do and all of the brands that are out there. In fact, I follow the vast majority of them on LinkedIn to keep up with what they're doing. Am I familiar with all of the rich history that every brand has? Not necessarily. I just know a lot about Nike, and that's just the brand that I am just the most familiar with. It also comes down to, at least in my case, how well do you know the sneaker market? As some of you may know, I have been a sneakerhead for, 10 plus years, and I've been following those trends since I was really young. And a lot of the brands that have been popular over time, the shoes that have done really well, shoes that have been skyrocketing, that go for thousands and thousands of dollars, the vast majority of them just so happen to fall within the Nike and the Jordan umbrella. So it's not that I dislike any of those brands. It's just that I'm more familiar and I guess have more of an expertise in Nike. And in a sense, I only I like to share and inform my audience on stuff that I absolutely know is true and stuff that I absolutely know can help you. And it's not that I can't help you in those other brands. And that's something that I'm currently working on, but it's just at the time, I just know Nike more. And that's not a bad thing at all. And I do want to let you know that I do have some non Nike related case studies. You can go and take a look at this on my website. I do have one on the Adidas AE1. That's Anthony Edwards basketball shoe. I have one on SneakerCon. I have one coming up this week, actually. That's not even on a sneaker, it's on an independent brand. So I'm going to be researching and diving in on new brands all the time. And that's part of why I enjoy these case studies and enjoy this content that I create for you guys, is because I'm able to learn right there with you. When I'm doing this research, when I'm writing different case studies, when I'm building out my website, I'm constantly looking at new trends, new ideas, what's going on. And it helps me to not only become more competent within the skill set that I'm building, but also more competent in terms of the deliverables that I create and the content that I'm giving you specifically. And so, if the person that's asking this question, first off, thank you for that. The second thing I'd say is that's a skill that I'm currently working on, especially relating to other brands like Fear of God and the more not, I guess the best way to put it is not super mainstream. Like everybody knows Adidas, everybody knows Nike, everybody knows Under Armour, Reebok, but not everybody knows Fear of God. And not everybody knows what really goes on with those designer esque sneaker boutique brands and how they are reaching their target audience. And so that's something that I'm developing and working on. And I'm very excited to share with you a new project coming up within this week. So if you're listening to this, it's most likely out. So go ahead and take a look at that on my LinkedIn. All right. Well, hopefully I answered that question to the best of my abilities. But I want to go ahead and introduce this section before I start question number 3. So those of you that have been following me for a little bit, you may know that I have a newsletter that is currently in the works. You can go ahead and subscribe to that on my website, triplejstudios.com. This is a shameless plug type of deal. Basically, all the case study work, all the content that I'm creating, life can get crazy. Life can get busy. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Tons of businesses and brands are fighting for your attention. If you just want all of the content that I'm creating into a very short type of style, a short deliverable that you can read very quickly, I'm going to be creating that for you. I'm creating this for the one that's working 2 jobs, the one that's working 12 hours a day, the one that has a bunch of kids at home, the one that's a single parent. Whoever you are, I'm here for you. And I want to still provide content for you in a very condensed, easy, consumable way for you to review. And so that is exactly what my newsletter is. And so if you have any interest in it at all, go ahead and subscribe to it. Just go to my website. It's actually on my LinkedIn personal. It's going to take you directly to my page. It's the first link that you'll see on my profile. It'll say subscribe to my newsletter right here. Just go ahead and click that, subscribe to it. Those emails are going to be going out at the end of May. And so I'm excited to start that content as well, along with all of these podcast episodes and case studies. Guys, we're just building this brand. It's super cool. And I love and enjoy doing this a lot. So that's going to be starting. So again, any interest, take a look at it. Let me know what you think. All right. Coffee break. Now it's time for the third and final question of the day. Let's get into it. Reads Nick, was there a marketing campaign that you ever came across that you were shocked it didn't work out? Do any of these failed campaigns have a common denominator, or why do you think some brands succeed and why some don't? This is a phenomenal question. What campaigns don't do well? Here's the thing. Everyone remembers a wildly successful campaign. Everyone remembers a wildly successful achievement, accomplishment, a goal, whatever it is. Okay. And here's a simple exercise for you to think of that. I want you to think of not your first best friend. I want you to think of your fourth or your third best friend. Okay. Still within the top 5, top 3. All right. Give you a second to think about who that is. All right, so now that you have them in your head, I want you to think about all of their achievements, or what are the things that define that person. Think about it. 95% of the time, those things are going to be positive. Those things are going to be inspiring. They're going to be achievements. They're going to be accolades, whatever it is. Okay. Whether they're an athlete, whether they're a scholar, whether they're a business owner, it can be anything. 95% of the time, you're going to recognize their achievements. And this is the exact same thing in marketing, and why positive thoughts are contagious, not just in life, but in different campaigns. Now, what's the flip side? The downfalls. What are some campaigns that kind of fell off? I want to share with you one that I had done a case study on recently that I think is a perfect fit for this case. I'm going to pull it up here just a second. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. All right, so as you can see here on the screen, this is one that fell off for me. And I know people have different feelings on this, but to me, the DJ Khaled Air Jordan 5 was definitely one that fell off. And I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. Obviously, Khaled is very well known. He's an icon. He's he's something in of itself. Okay, I think that's a fair statement to say. But one thing that I will say about him is that his shoes have always done very well in past. All of his past PEs, his player exclusives, have sold for thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm talking some, I'm not just talking like 1 to 2. I'm talking 6, 7, 8, maybe even $10,000 for some of his shoes. So when he came out with his new fives, came out last year, everyone was hyped for him. Everyone was jolting. I remember seeing this all over Instagram. And I had a feeling that it was going to be okay just because of the unique colorways, but didn't know how it would go. And then on its release, was a dud. Well, why was it a dud? What's the point in it? It honestly is kind of surprising in this point. Let's take a look at it. And by the way, if you're watching, not watching, but if you're listening to this on audio on Spotify, you might want to go ahead and watch the video of this. That way you're able to see what I'm really talking about. So, I mean, just some of the positives it had. It was self-promoted by Khaled, which is what you want to see. The brand consistency in terms of the colorways, the color scheme, the branding with the "We the Best" on it. He consistently pursued the press when he wore these courtside at a Heat game, and there's a whole ton of other examples on this. But some of the downsides, what wasn't the best, pun intended, with this. Okay, here's the big one. Okay, it's an undesirable silhouette and timing. Okay, and here's what I mean by that. Jordan 5s have never really been that shoe. There have been the ones, there have been the threes, it's been the fours as of late. Fives have never really made that ultimate tier. And so because it's never made that ultimate tier, people just generally aren't that interested. And even though this is a collab, the colorways aren't necessarily wearable. Like most people are not going to wear a Crimson Bliss shoe on a random Tuesday morning. Can't really get away with it. That's maybe a Friday afternoon, summertime, Florida type of beat, which just so happens to where he is, but that's not where a lot of the audience is. My personal take on this shoe, I like the shoe. Quality on this is great. I've seen these in hand. They're wonderful. However, the color scheme for me is where I kind of faded away from it. And I'd like to think that I'm not alone in that. The only rebuttal to that would be is that that's his brand, that's his thing, and I respect it. But this to me is an example of a shoe that fell off. Now, are there other examples of this? Excuse me, where brands and sneakers are going to fall off? Yes. Here's one that you may remember if you're into sneakers and stuff. New Balance did a collab with sneaker boutique Amy Leon Dore on the 550s. And that shoe at the time, you can take a look at it. It's a very popular shoe. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look this up for you guys because I think this is worth your time here. If I can spell Leon right. All right, let's take a look. right, so this shoe here, this one right here, in 2020, 2021, this shoe was considered that shoe. You saw the shoe, you knew that guy had some money, you knew this guy had some style, you knew this guy was a part of that elite group, per se, not the Illuminati, but just part of that social status, if you will. Okay. These shoes at the time were selling for six, seven, $800 in some cases. And mind you, they retailed for like 150, if that. I'm trying to see if I can find the colorway that I had. The most popular one was the evergreen colorway. This one, I believe it's right here. Yeah. So this one on your screen here, this was the number one guy. So as you can see now, we're going for 230, but back then, you're talking $800 for the shoe. And so what happened with this marketing campaign? The biggest thing for collabs, especially for high-end streetwear boutiques, is all about this one word, exclusivity. If you have an exclusive brand, it's going to do very well. When you have an exclusive collab, it's going to sell well. Once you start massing produced shoes, it's going to start to fall off just because of the supply and demand. You can see here the supply was so low that the demand just kept surging and surging. I mean, just take a look at this price chart. This is on StockX. You can take a look at this for free if you want. Starting at $400, worked its way up to about $500, 600 in 2021. Okay, dipped a little bit. And then get this, August 30, $912 for a shoe that costs 130. That's crazy because they restocked and people started getting more pairs. It quickly plummeted by almost 80%, if not more than that, to 227. That's wild. Okay. And since late 21, it's crept up a little bit, but just started going back down just because a couple of reasons. One, lack of exclusivity, like I said. Two, it's not popular anymore. This is an example of a big trend. Okay. It had a time and a place back 4 years ago. Fortunately, now it's just not the case anymore. But marketing plays a big role, and that's a big part in your brand image. Okay. I want to finish with this. Let me finish with this. This is going to tie into what we were just talking about with exclusivity affiliating with your brand. Okay. Let me get my phone out because I want to make a quick little clip. Yeah, I do this. That's how I am. It's what I do. Okay. Here's the deal. Okay. Reality check. Every single one of you has a brand. Every single person on here listening or watching to this has a brand. You all have a personal brand. You're all promoting something. And you have the choice every single day to decide what your personal brand is. Unfortunately, a lot of people choose to have a negative personal brand. And what comes from that? Well, the output is the same as the input, negativity. And I'll let you decide what that result is. You know what I'm thinking about. On the other hand, you can have a positive personal brand that promotes discipline, hard work, education, trust, faith, whatever you want to put in there. You are the ultimate one that decides your personal brand. And in this case, for ALD, it had a huge role in its personal brand. Okay. Once it was not following its true identity, all of a sudden, people just didn't care for it anymore. And yeah, it eventually came into it's not the trend, or it's not the thing. But at the time, it was. And because ALD didn't keep that exclusivity reputation within itself, within its products, you kind of lose it. Okay. This closely relates to the first question we talked about with Pata and Nike. The reason why Pata and Nike continue to do very well is because Pata has that close knit, family oriented brand that is associated within all of its products. Okay. It's not only available within Amsterdam, which is where it was founded, you can also get this wherever you want. You can get it in America, you can get it in other parts of Europe, South America, wherever. Okay. That's why Pata does so well and has continued to do super well. And so those are the 3 questions that we have for today. If you guys like this episode here, don't forget to share the show, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.